I've already attempted a spot to know that I can actually make it work. Oh, crap. Oh, no. How am I supposed to fix that? Oh, just put myself back several days. It's like a baby redback. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with an edge, you're really taking your life in your own hands. It's not my birthday! Get the paper out the bucket! Team, welcome back. We're on part 13 of the C200 rebuild. Is this going to be the final chapter? I don't know. I'm kind of hoping so. August last year is when I first bought this vehicle, and now here we are, middle of March 2026. Taken a lot longer than I really thought it would, but this is where we're at, so we're going to keep moving forward. As you saw in the last episode, it got painted and it got clear coated. The underside of the bonnet hasn't been clear coated yet, but I ended up with runs on it. So we've got to sort that out. But it's been 5 weeks since I've been home. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the C200 out in front of the workshop, pressure wash it over, clean it up. It is absolutely filthy. Get the panels outside, the bumper, the fender, and the bonnet. Get them washed because they're absolutely covered in dust galore. Get them sanded, get them perfected, get the car in, get that painted, get that clear coated, put it back together, and get it re-registered. Will I get it done in one episode? I don't know, but I'm kind of hoping so. But we'll see. Let's get on with it. So as you can see, this thing is pretty filthy. There is bird crap all over it. And there are leaves everywhere in the engine bay. So we've got the pressure washer out, and the kids wanted to help because they're dying to see this thing put back together just as much as I am. So everyone got involved. Out with some soapy water. I wet it all over. It was a warm day, so we just kept wetting it over and washed it from the top right through to the bottom. Jasmine stayed behind to help me with the 3 panels that we had inside. We brought them out, and again, there was just dust all over them. Team, I've gotten the paint booth all re-sorted out. I had to just fix up the plastic a bit. I have done a vast improvement to the extraction system. It now looks like so. I actually have a full chipboard. This is fully hinged on the other side, so it allows me to bend it and then slot it into either side of the runners. And I've just got the one fan which has a little flap that I can fold down when the fan is on and then close it up when it's not during the day, hence then dust doesn't fly back in. Far cry improvement to what it was because the cardboard was just totally deteriorating. And we also have another light in here, and I swapped them both out to be the same. So now we have lighting right here where the bonnet was originally. I'm going to show you. I've got to take care of these runs that are on the bonnet and on the fender first. So let me just show you what I've seen online on what I'm going to do. Then I need to give them all a quick rub down again, try and give it one coat to finalize it. The underside of the bonnet still has to be done. That'll only be done a couple of times. And then I've got to get the car in. I've said that like in the last 2 or 3 episodes. What on earth? I've got to get this done. So let me show you how to take care of these runs. Well, on the flat spot it's easy. Where it's right here on this curve though, that's going to be a little more problematic. I've already attempted a spot to know that I can actually make it work. So there is, let me try and catch it in the light. There's a run right there. There, you can see it. And there's another one right there. So we're going to take care of those right now. I'll show you how, using a razor blade. But when it comes to this spot right here, that might be a different story. Right, as you can see, I'm trying to do this one-handed, which is not ideal. You take the scraper blade, you literally put it on top, and you very carefully come backwards and forth over it. And ideally, I should shave the sides of this blade off the tiniest bit so they're curved. And then you go back and forth. You keep this upright and you go over it, keeping it upright until you basically shave that off and start to mark the outside area, like that one, which was the largest one. So I had to do it first to make sure I knew what I was doing. And as you can see right there, there's a tiny one there as well, which is still not. So you can see where the high spot is and the low spot. So it's literally a matter of just going very slowly, taking your time. Then once you get it down, you give it a sand, some 320, work your way up if you were doing a full polish, if that was all you were doing. Or in our case, I'm going to give it a 320 just to smooth it out again, and then give the other areas a spot all over the bumper, a sand, so that we can redo this again. That is that done. Really quick. I really should just take the sides up. I don't know if you could catch what it was doing, but you put your finger over, you can't even feel the scratches. The important thing is that this is brand new. It's not an old one. It doesn't have any ruts in it. It is a brand new blade. I bought a pack of 100 for just under $10 from Bunnings, so that I had plenty for the future. Now let's tackle the front of the bumper, which is going to be a little more different because it's on a curve. This is nice and flat. It's easier. I'm not sure how this is going to go. The actual high spots here might be okay, but this actual run, you can see, actually goes all along this edge. So I'm going to have to sand that to blend that to that. I can't use this blade to do it. I can only use the blade for these actual ends. So that's what we'll tackle now. This only works if the hardener is absolutely fully hardened. You can't do it, spray it one day, have a run, and then try it the next, because the underneath won't be fully solid. That's the other thing they said online. Oh crap! Oh no. I have just gone down to the gold in the paint. Oh. How am I supposed to fix that up? I've just put myself back several days. The only thing I can think of is I'm just literally just going to open up a paint can and I'm going to get the sand, get it smooth, and I will literally put a couple of dobs, tiny bit of paint on there, let it dry, and then get the clear coat on top. Lessons learnt. As you can see, I've gone over the entire bonnet, and even where there were little bits of debris, I have gone and put them down nice and flat. Now it is on to the fender, and that fender edge, if I can get it in the light there, much better, you can see it there. It's pretty bad, so I'm going to give that a bit of a going over and see if I can just smooth it off a little bit before it's sanded. I have completely and totally wrecked the fender. It was so badly jagged with the runs. The blade was probably a bad idea, and then I started to go back through the aluminium in the low spots. So I had to do the worst case scenario. And that is, there was a run here and I could use the blade and I got it smooth, and that's having a very light sand. But up here, as you can see, I am back to the aluminium. I had to use a 240 grit to get it smoothed off because it was just that bad. And then I've used some 600 just to smooth it up. So it is back to its normal shape, which is the important bit. So now it means I need to put some primer on it to cover up the aluminium, and then that has to be resprayed just that edge by using up some tape over the curve, and then we can continue with the clear coat. This is really going to put me back a few days. Anyway, I just got to get on with it. So let's do that. A quick reminder, people, I have no idea what I'm doing. I look up some videos, work things out myself, and give it a go. So, as you've seen, I've just primed the fender. Now, we've got to tackle this front part of the bonnet. So I have sanded along here and I've taken out the little run ridge that was there. Now I've just got this spot here to take care of because I've removed the base coat. Now instead of putting it into a spray gun and trying to fix it up, I'm literally going to bring the can in, get a small paintbrush, and I'm going to dab it on. Now being as thin as the paint is, I think I'm going to tip up the bonnet so that that particular spot is just level, and then let it sit and let it dry. Then I can sand it down the tiniest amount just to smooth it over. Hopefully it'll match, and then I can put the clear coat on top. Now straight away you may notice that there was just 2 indiscretions and now there's 3. Well, I found there was still a bit of a run there and I gave that a rub, and sure enough I ended up with the 3rd. So let's do exactly what I said. Fill these in, like over-purposely fill them in so that when I sand them they go down. So I want to get ready for putting the bumper and everything together. So we got all the plastics outside and literally got a scrubbing brush and scrubbed them clean. Remember, I want to get the parts for the bumper a gloss black to match the grille. This part I'm doing right now is the part that goes on the back of the inside of the door. This part here is the license plate holder. That part there is the lower grille. That's got to be painted gloss black. Out with the pressure washer again, and this time do both sides of the soundproofing dampener of the bonnet. This thing was pretty filthy. There's dust everywhere at my place, so this got a really good going over. And like I said before, we had leaves everywhere. Of course, you got the little grabber out, and patiently, bit by bit, just got one leaf at a time out. Now I needed to test this because I want to try this. I don't know that it's actually going to work. So after letting them dry out, I got the primer and just primed one of these plastic parts. This is the trim, outside trim to the daytime running lights that goes in the lower part of the bumper. This is the chrome trim that goes over the actual daytime running light itself. Now these I do want to get gloss black. So talking of gloss black, I actually have some enamel gloss black, and after the primer had dried, I just needed to give it a coat to see how it was going to come up. And I got to say, it looked pretty good. After the parts were clean, they were brought inside and given a clean. I used some auto sol to try and just polish them up to get them looking as good as possibly can. And then back inside the paint booth to start rubbing these panels down to give them another coat of clear coat. Alright team, I'm in the booth. I have put 2 coats, as you've seen, on here of the paint to cover it up. I'm now going to use a 600 to very carefully smooth it over, see if I can match it up without taking any more off, doing it wet, and if need be, if I see some indentations, we'll clean it off and put some more paint on, let it dry, and do this again because we want it to match. And then everything can get a rub over, and then get a clear coat. And I want all 3 of these finished tonight so that the car can come in tomorrow. See how I'm wearing that next to it? And it's coming, leaving it, taking the paint off. See how the other colours come in? One of them is still a little bit low. The 3 spots stick out far too much. So, and I've worn the tiniest amount off one of the spots next to it. So, because I still have to do the underside of that fender, I'm going to take this back. First of all, I'm going to add the paint, get it level, let it dry, then sand it back to get it level, get it all sanded back all around here, and just try and do this one spot only, which means covering all this up, taping it, and then do that this afternoon so that we can get a clear coat on tonight. I've just got to get this done, so that's what's going to happen. Team, it is about 1:20 in the afternoon. I am kind of pretty happy with progress so far today, but I do want to make sure that these are sanded and clear coated for tonight, and hopefully that's, I need to have them finished. I've got to get this car in. I've said that like the last 2 episodes, and then something would happen, like what's happened. Anyway, as you've seen, I've been cleaning and getting bits ready, like on the grill and the lights, daytime running lights, so we can start putting all of those together once all of this is then clear coated and finished. So just want to smooth off the front of the bonnet with the little patches that I've put in, sand back the area that's going to get repainted along with the fender, and let's get it done. So as I did with the previous trim to the daytime running lights, we've got to prime the parts first. So after accidentally throwing some gloss black on it, I grabbed the can of primer again to do the other half, because I've already done half. Now I need to do front and back of these because there's such an intricate honeycomb pattern to get inside of, and I've let that sit and dry while I'm now back going over the bonnet to scuff this up a bit so the entire thing can get clear coated. Then after I've spent the time on the bonnet, over to where the fender is, and that's done by hand because it's just a little more intricate. After I'd done that, I went and grabbed the other trim and the grille and gave them both a painting in gloss black. But the grille was done back and front because of the honeycomb pattern, just to get into all the nooks and crannies that makes it up. This is the wiring harness to the front of the bumper with the 6 sensors on it. 2 of them black, 4 of them are the gold color, which need to be changed to the new color. So I'm going to take all 6 of them off, mask them up, give them a quick rub back. The 4 have got to be painted blue at the same time as the fender and the bonnet fix up, and the other 2 are just going to get the gloss black the same as we did the grille. Let's do that. So easily unclipped the actual sensors from the sensor wiring harness, putting them in order because there is 4 different color to the 2 black, as I've just said. Off with the silicone O-rings and then scuff them up. Meanwhile, Jasmine was giving the actual plugs themselves a clean because the dust was absolutely everywhere on these things. Now, I don't want to paint all over the sensors, so they need to be wrapped up. And I just took the 2 black ones into the paint booth to give them a spray immediately, using the same color, same can that I did with the grill. Team, I've just decided I'm going to go and take the skirting off the side of the C200. It's going to be much easier to paint, and I've only got a small section to do. Just found my little tool that undoes the little lock nuts on the underneath. So I'm going to go and remove that now and bring it in. So outside, undid all the actual clips underneath. Then I actually did use my plastic trim tools to actually get the panels started, because these are plastic and you really want to be careful taking them off. Bring it over to give it a wash, because as you can see there is red dust everywhere and it's pretty filthy. Oh, look at that. And then we found a little surprise. Check this out. Around here. You see it? Yeah. It's like a baby redback. For those who don't know, that is an extremely venomous spider. Got it?
Sorry, wait.
Native to Australia.
It's hard to see.
The redback.
There you go.
And that's a really small one.
Baby redback.
Anyway, that redback went to heaven. And I got on with doing the work to get this C200 back on the road. After rubbing down, going up to having some dinner, it was into the paint booth and getting some paint mixed up and then getting it onto these panels, including the sensors, the parking sensors. Team, it is 9:30 at night. Bonnet is done. I think it looks alright. Fender is done. Side skirt is done. Front bumper, parking sensors are done. Now, just got to do the clear coat. So, before I do that, I've just got to give this a really light sand just to mix these two lines up. And this one here you can see is a much softer line. Hence, when you have the paper curving around, it allows a bit more of a feather in compared to a harder line. You can see that really hard line compared to that kind of feathering in effect. But it's going to give it a very, very light sand just to blend the two, and then it should be good to go. That has come out pretty good. The fender has come out pretty good. Again, it's going to very, very, very light sand that edge. And I've just peeled back the paper here. Again, I'm going to give this a very, very light sand and a little bit here just for the clear coat to then blend onto. Team, I've had to call it there. I was going to clear coat. I've just spent time looking over the bumper and found a couple of runs, so I took care of those, and in that time bugs started to come in, and I'm not taking the risk of having those suckers landing in the clear coat and stuffing it up. So, plan is, get up early in the morning and get the clear coat done. Then, get the car in, get that done. See you in the morning. Good morning, team. It is the next morning. I have made a quick change to how the air system is going to work. Hopefully that will make a difference to how much water is going to come through out into my belt unit. So, originally, way over yonder is where the water separator was. It is now in here in the booth. So hopefully the water will be in the line and condensate, then be caught before it then comes out the next line. We'll try it, see what happens. Anyway, to give this a quick sweep, bring the bumper in, get the clear coat done. So this all looks very good, but disaster was literally around the corner. I'm going to talk about a fan pattern later, and I have spoken about it previously in previous episodes. But I'm just giving you the heads up right now. If you don't see a huge cloud, and I mean a huge cloud of clear coat puffing up from the gun when it's hitting the surface, something is wrong. And as you can see, there's not a lot coming off. And I was wondering what's going on. It just seemed different as I was doing all these three, and I got halfway through the bonnet And then I realised. And I just kind of lost it a little bit. So I fixed up the fan pattern, went to the other side of the bonnet, and as you can see, there's clear coat going everywhere, and that's how it's supposed to be. Team, first coat is on. And I stuffed up royally. I had all the gun settings, well, I had everything nearly correctly. I was not paying attention to the fan pattern. The fan pattern is how wide the paint throws out on like an arc. And it was only like 3 fingers wide, and it should be kind of like your top finger to your little finger, kind of. It's an indicator. And it was only like this wide. And of course, it's now piled on far too much clear lacquer intensely on the one spot, and now I have more runs than ever. Have a look at this. You can see a perler right there. Unfortunately, there are dips. You can see it in the paint. This is just going to take some time to do panels as I work my way through this, because I really love doing this. The painting seems to be just a little bit easier, but the clear coat, that is a separate art form in itself. Well, that's what I've found so far. But I'm not going to let it get me to stop yet. I really want to master this. So it's just going to take some time. Speaking to other people, working out things. But again, there's just so many factors that changes things. Okay, second coat is on. Had I done that in the very first place and had the fan control set correctly, I would be in a far better situation. I checked the gun and I actually had the fan control all the way in and out slightly, out a quarter turn, when I was supposed to have had it all the way out and have it wound in a quarter of a turn. So I stuffed up big time. Anyway, you could see that was it was much better, the fan control and the fluid control, and I kept an eye on the air pressure. But I still got the runs from the first coat. So I need to let that sit for a bit. It is now nearly midday. I'm going to let that sit for an hour plus, maybe. Check if it's reasonably dry. I can't block sand. What's block sand? Block sanding is literally using a very hard block, like a small wood block, and with sandpaper, wet and dry, and very, very, very carefully. If your drip is, I'm doing an upside down drip, is up, you've then got to like sand just that drip till you get to the two sides, either side of the drip. So very cautious, look at it very, very carefully. Hence, I'm trying to add a bit more lacquer so that there is more lacquer not only on top of the drip, but not on top of the drip, but either side of the drip. Anyway, plan is now to put the grill sensors into the grill, the lower grill. We're going to put the driving lights all back together. So let's do that now. There's a little Mercedes logo, and that's good enough. So that, is this right? Oh, because that's going to go that way. No. Left. Just so you can see the difference in the two. This is what they were originally, and this is how they've come out afterwards. I reckon it is a far improvement, especially as the grill is going to be gloss black. These need to match just to make it good, because this would stand out, I think, with the grill being gloss and this being matte. This comes in from behind. There you go, those slots line up. That's how that's going to go. So in theory, I should just be able to go. On, that's in, and that's in. That's in place. Now these are, yeah, These ones are close to the right angle. And then those ones, slot in the back. Clip, clip, and look at that. Done. Okay, now the sensors are unwrapped. We've already thrown one in, but we'll show you exactly what it is. It's pretty simple. The cleaned little seal O-ring goes over the top. And it literally can only go in one way and face outwards, so that you just clip it in and connect it on, and the wiring harness is done. That's complete. Team, while the clear coat is drying, because I want to give it maximum time, we've done the daytime running lights, we've done the grille, we're going to change out the boot emblems on the back. So let's dive in and do that. Wasn't sure how to do this, jumped online and looked easy enough, but I just destroyed this Mercedes emblem when getting it off. It's just chrome plated plastic. Okay, the emblem came with some double-sided tape. We've put it around the edge. We're going to use it just to help hold it on. So put the double-sided tape, and this was really hard to get in. I thought this has got to be wrong, but I persisted, and sure enough, it snapped into place. And I had to make sure I had it the right way around, because there was an actual curve to the emblem to suit the curves of the actual boot itself. So I put some tape on to keep the exact line as to where the numbers and the letter is. Heated them up and just used a pry tool to lift them up. It really is that simple. And they were hot. And again, it was another warm day. And then out with this awesome rubber tool. It just strips whatever's basically on your paint or whatever, and it just, without wrecking anything. That's just awesome. But there's a couple of small indentations on the boot, so I know exactly where the lettering's got to go, and it's all good. Okay, regards the C200 emblem on the back. Have a look at this. You will see the original C is a bit bigger than the new C200, and especially with these zeros, they're a lot larger. You can see they're hanging over a mile away. So what that means is we individually have to take these off and put them in the original spacings so that they can cover up. There's a couple of marks in the paint we need to cover up using these. So I can't just stick on the bottom and leave the top joined and then peel it off, which is how it's designed. Just got to put them on individually. This makes me nervous. Now, I've never done this before. I would Holden ones maybe, but they're little prongs and an exact place to put them. This you've just got to get right. So there are a couple indentations, tiny little paint chips, which these were going over, and this is the original top line of what was there in the first place. So I just needed to follow that and then cover up those, and I had to do the first and the third character because they're the ones that had the indentations, and that was then going to determine where the rest were going to go. Hence the one I'm putting on now, which is the last zero, and then I just had the two afterwards, and the gap looked pretty big and I was starting to get a bit worried, but by the time we actually put it into place, that's right, pressure. It looked fine. The pressure. Give them a really good push onto that car, and then just let them set. Simple as that. Check it out. So these are the bonnet hinges, and instead of doing the usual painting them the colour of the car, I wanted to do something just a little bit different, and I thought gloss black. There's a big gloss black theme, why wouldn't I do the two bonnet hinges? Now I've sprayed them while they are collapsed first, and then after I've done just that hinge point that I've just done, I then open it up because under there is a section that's not then painted. But of course, doing it in the two different positions, open and closed, then covers the spots. And then once they're both done, they just need to hang and dry. It is now night time. Light is on the gun, and away we go. Get that clear coat on. I feel at this point after the day, I was very cautious on checking everything. Settings, having the light, and being good with my coverage. Team, it is 9:15 at night. I have laid down a couple of coats, as you've seen, on the underside of the bonnet, and it is far better than what was previously done on the other side. Let's have a look. Team, it is the next day, but it is about 1:30, nearly 2 o'clock in the afternoon, somewhere there. Been busy doing some things around the property this morning because they needed to be done. Jasmine and I are doing a bit of a clean up in the shed because it is time to get this finally, I cannot believe it, to get it in and get it painted. I wanted to bring the bonnet out to check how close the color was to the original panels because I thought these have got to be sanded so they can be blended. But have a look at this paint color. The new paint to the original is exactly the same. There's nothing there different at all other than the clear coat being Ripley. The color is the same. Where it's really close here, come in close. Where it's really close there, you can tell there's just exactly the same. I am so relieved. And up here where it meets the A pillar, other than the Rippliness, they're the same color. So I am super relieved about that. Unfortunately, I've still got to deal with the runs. The underneath that I did last night of the bonnet looks fantastic. It doesn't need any more. It's going to be covered all the time, and the two coats looks really good. But the top side, the fender and the bonnet, going to need a lot of attention. So they're going to be put to the side. We're going to get the car in and get it painted. First of all, I wanted to take this bit of masking tape off the underneath the bonnet to expose the original sticker. It's just driving me nuts. Anyway, finally, here it is. The car is in the workshop, but I need to take the door mirror off, and to do that, the window's going to come down. Got to remove some trims, starting with the tweeter trim and then the door module trim. Undo the clip that holds the tweeter and the door mirror wire together. Once that's unclipped, then disconnect the door mirror from the door module. Pull the wire through the door trim. There are 3 Torx screws that hold the mirror on. Jasmine's on the outside holding it just so it didn't fall off, because I needed 2 hands to operate the impact driver and hold the Torx screw. Then I can get up and just give it a wiggle, and out it came. And because it's probably the first time it's ever been off, it was absolutely filthy underneath, understandably. So we gave that a really good clean, and then that gave me the opportunity to get these awesome little scouring pads out and scuff this paint up, being very careful not to touch the trim. Gave it a really good wash down so that we can get on with the rest of it. We've given the car a quick wash over. It is unbelievable how rough the glass, the bodywork feels. It's like the finest of sandpaper, because we have a massive highway extension. If you're from Perth, then you'll know of the Tonkin Highway extension from Thomas Road all the way down. And the amount of dust that is creating from all the sand and all the civil works that's being done is just unbelievable. And because I don't have anywhere undercover for this to go, or any of the cars that we have here, or the caravans, the dust is just like baking on to the surfaces, and it is just horrendous. It will get polished, obviously, but that is just going to be an ongoing battle. Anyway, it's now washed. Get this entire spot dried, get the car dry, get it covered in plastic, cut this part out, get it taped up, and paint it. Now Jasmine has been just an absolute awesome help of late. She's really loving to get involved and help me out with the camera work. And she wants to give things a go too, which is just awesome. And this masking tape goes under the door trim really nicely and holds the plastic easily in place, so you get a really nice defined line. And finally, the car is getting painted. I definitely have more fluid coming out because I've learnt from my past mistakes on how I need to do this. Doesn't mean I'm a guru yet, not by a long shot, but as you can see, there's far more paint coming out of that than when I first laid some paint down. Now you'll notice that I flick the gun away from the panel as I'm nearing the end. I'm not just holding it level all the way. And that's part of the trick on getting the spray not to be as intense as you're ending the gun run. And you're coming down past what it is you want to paint and then flicking it away so the paint's intensity is lessened. This really is satisfying. But did you notice I didn't point the gun down enough when I was at the very, very bottom of the door? I've still got a long way to go on learning when to apply coats after they've had coats. The base coat's a lot easier to notice because you can see it dry off a bit, and that's called flashing off. So it's not fully dry, but the top is dry. Now, for the entire time, I was having a bit of a problem with the gun. And as you can see here, I'm pulling the trigger and nothing's coming out.
Maybe it blocked up the edge.
Look! Something is wrong with the gun. Yes, sure, I was pulling the trigger all the way and nothing was coming out. Even when I started, it wasn't throwing out the air that it should have been on the 28-ish PSI that I was trying to put out. So I need to pull this apart immediately and clean it right up and find out what's going on. Now the gun is apart, but that there is sluggish and nothing's in it. So there is a hexagon head inside. I need to pull it apart. Cutting all of that. Nothing left in that. And this comes out of there. there. That also has a seal in it. So all of that's going to get cleaned individually. Quick, we're going to clean every single part, put it back together, test it out.
Okay, back together.
Something is still wrong with the gun. The trigger feels really sluggish. It was really easy to operate before, and then something's happened. As you're about to see, there's still next to nothing coming out of the gun. And I've just said, something is still not right. But I've got paint in there and I need to use it up. You can just hear it. There's nowhere near enough pressure coming out. And I've got the regulator, the attachment to the spray gun, open a lot more than I had before, and I just cannot work out what's going on. But then I do eventually work out what's going on. But in the meantime, I've got to make this work because the paint is in the gun and time is a-ticking. I just said something is still not right. I found the problem. This here is the air control for the gun. It's supposed to be all the way out, but someone had it in like 2 turns or something. Now it's doing what it should. Yes, there are 3 knobs on the spray gun. The one at the bottom is the air control. So if you didn't have a regulator, that is the regulator. But of course, I have a separate regulator on there. So that thing needs to be open at all times fully. And then I control the air separately. I got to do a little victory dance here. I'm working things out. I just said the trigger is still not right though. It's still a bit sticky. I just realised I should be able to put a tiny bit of lubricant in there with that, because the paint doesn't only goes here. I should put some lubricant in there, I reckon. That might help it. I don't know. But we'll come back to that. Team, it is raining, and it is, well actually, summer is officially over. But there's some kind of cyclone up north, and this is the tail end of it coming through. Anyway, I said the gun was stiff. It wasn't smooth flowing. After pulling it apart, it certainly felt a bit better, but it still felt sluggish. I thought, oh, that's some moving parts. I wonder if a spray gun can be lubricated, because I'm thinking, not really, but the parts that would be lubricated are not where the paint's going through. I've just jumped online, and sure enough, parts should be lubricated. So I don't have any special spray gun lubricant. I will endeavour to get some, but in the meantime I do have some general grease. So I'm going to take it all apart, dry it, and put on the tiniest amount on the parts where there's movement and see what difference that makes. Just when you think things are going smoothly, have a look at this. Now it all looks kind of pretty good, right? But then you shine some light on the situation and you get that. And I think that is the undercoat, which I did not prep enough. You can even see on there halfway up the door. And you can even see a line just there. So you want a job to look good, right? so it's got to be fixed. I've got to get some guide coat. It's a black powder you literally just rub on, and it shows you the minutest of an imperfection so that you can get it right. I should have had the light on the gun for a start. Maybe I would have seen that. Anyway, I now need to fix it up. Lots of learning going along with this car on how to do everything. If you want to do something, you've got to learn how to do it. And so I've learned how to do lots of sanding, especially on runs, and imperfections. Things that should have been fixed up before I even painted. So I'm kind of looking forward to the next car, because it should be a lot quicker than what I'm doing this one. Anyway, out with the block sander, because I need a nice, hard, flat surface with sandpaper so that I get a really good flat finish. So I have done some sanding. I started with an 800, which was too fine. I bought this little pack of cut out bits of wet and dry. The 800 kind of just wore out like super quick. So I've gone to some 600, and that's certainly helped. So I think there are just some things you need to buy locally and know that you're buying a really good product. Probably something like the 3M. And I need to do some research online to see what wet and dries are really good out there and last a while. You pay a bit more, but you get what you pay for, right? So I only have a little bit of paint left. Hopefully that's enough to cover up what I've sanded. So let's do that. Painting's now done after going over and just fixing up those spots, and that is far better. There's still some blemishes which are a little even hard to even pull out, but there's one kind of here-ish. But other than that, it is a far improvement to what it was previously. So a massive lessons learnt today. Make sure you got your light on. Make sure you got your air control on your actual gun all the way out, and make sure it is actually lubricated, the parts, because it did make a huge difference. And I realized why afterwards. Why did it suddenly dry out? Because I took the fluid control knob off, as you always do, to get the pin out, the needle out, and I was pouring thinners down that. So of course, whatever grease might have been there washed it out and away. So, duh. So I put back what should have been there, and we're all good. Now again, I've got just that tiny bit more experience now. I don't know what's going on. The light's on, the gun's working, and I'm definitely getting a far better coating with the clear coat. Don't forget, I've got the sensors, and they've got to be clear coated as well. Team, back in the workshop, I have come to work on my salubrious effort on putting runs on panels, just because I wanted to practice. Not. Lockie's also been in here, and him and his mullet have been working on the quad. Check that thing out. Look how long that thing is. Anyway, I've already been working on some runs. Let me show you. There were runs all on these particular spots, all along here. And they've come out very nicely. So now I'm going to show you exactly just how I have done that so far. Obviously, once I do all three panels, they'll all have to be resprayed, but at least I have a better idea of what I'm doing now. So let me just show you what I've been doing. So it is done through having some quality, or far better stuff than the stuff I got from AliExpress. I got to admit, not everything from AliExpress is awesome, and the sandpaper, well, those little square ones I was using previously weren't that great. This stuff I got from Bunnings. Of course, it's made in China anyway. Australian company, it's just having it made on their behalf. I've got a large sheet like this. I then cut it down into 3 strips, and then those strips I then cut down into half again, like so. The paper is soaked in water, wrapped around the block. Spray the spot that you want to sand down, and then very gently, patiently work your magic. Let me show you how it's done. So I've already shown you and explained that you take a small block of wood, wrap your wet and dry around it, but you're using a block of wood because it's got a very firm, flat surface. You're putting that directly over the part that you want to sand down, and very slowly and without too much pressure, you just sand backwards and forth, constantly checking, because you don't want to take any more than you need to. I gotta tell you how important it actually is to have some quality paper. The stuff I was using from AliExpress was just, you'd use it for 30 seconds and then you could feel that all the grit had pretty much gone, whereas this, I'd done everything that you'd seen previously, and obviously that. So I'm just going to get on and get these done, and they're all going to be given a light buff back. The door and the A-pillar, I want to put some more coats on that. So if any painters are out there, please leave a comment. I've heard that the end result for clear coat should be about 1 to 1.5 mil thick. Is that correct? Please let me know. I would love to know. And I want to hear from the professionals. So let's get on with that. Down to the very last panel. The fender is done. The bumper is done. Now I'm just down to the bonnet. I've already done a reasonable amount along here. Unfortunately, this edge has got runs on it, and I've just got this small section here left to do. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with an edge, you're really taking your life in your own hands, because unfortunately the original paint color has come through. So I'm going to have to very carefully touch it up. I do have a tiny amount of paint that's already pre-mixed, so I'm going to try and just use a very, very small paintbrush and very lightly, well, I cover it. There's a couple of tiny spots too on the bumper was the same thing, and again it was on an edge, a corner. So I'm going to finish this off. I've got a couple right up near where the emblem goes at the front, on the middle, and then these are done. So let's go. Team, after being away for a few days, following his 18th, it's back into the workshop. I want to get the clear coat on the car, which will happen tonight, and then tomorrow I intend to be in the workshop early with all of these prepped, the panels, so that they can be clear coated. Please, Lord Jesus, let that be it, completed and done. Then I need to give it a day so we can then start putting everything back on the bonnet, putting everything back on the bumper, putting the fender, everything else back on the car. And once it's together, then it's plugging in the OBD scanner, clearing the airbag codes that are there, getting the aircon working because there is no cold air currently, and then just going over it, checking it over, booking it in, and getting it registered. Let's go. Team, that is the clear coat down on the A-pillar, the frame, and the door. I've got runs on the door. I saw them and I recoated them because I know I can block sand them out. Might even use a finer sandpaper and just take my time. That way I will get it smooth and without having to take it back and redo it. Now, I have given the bonnet, the fender, and the bumper a bit of a rub back because I got all the runs out, and now I've just given them a light rub back with these trusty little pads here so that I can re-clear coat them. A couple of spots on the bumper, such as here, as you can see, I only lightly rub this and I've gone through. So what does that tell me? It tells me something that I said a couple of episodes ago when I was laying the paint down for the first time and I realized the mistake that I was making. I was putting it on too lightly, and I've not put heavy enough coats of paint, base coat down. What is the other telltale sign of that? Because I basically still have half a tin of paint left. Now, Noah down at the Rockingham paint place worked it out. He does this all the time and said 3 litres should give you everything you need, plus, you know, have a little bit left. Now, I shouldn't have half, because I would roughly have a litre and a half left. And everything's painted. So that tells me I have not laid anywhere near enough base coat down. Lessons learnt. I am kind of going along in my head saying these are now sanded, like lightly. So I could, in theory, relay the base coat down on all these items, really thicken up the coat, then put the final lacquer on. But what do I do? Today is it's Good Friday, so there's a couple of weeks before this gets out, because I'm trying to get as much done, put in one episode and cut bits down. I've got one more week off and then I go back to work, so time is going to be chewed up. So what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Oh man, what do I do? I got plenty of base coat. I could easily whack 2 coats down again on these things and really thicken them up. Is that going to make a difference? Well, should, in theory. And I'm pretty sure I have enough clear to do all these again, which means, am I putting enough clear down? I don't think there's enough clear going down. I'm going to have to get on some more videos, speak to Noah, speak to Nathan at the paint shop in Calcutta where I did my course. So how do I know I'm putting enough down? Because I don't think I am. So I don't think I've come through to the paint when I've been rubbing this, but through the lacquer. But decision to be made. Well, let's have a quick look at the runs. Started off pretty well here. The A-pillar has come out really, really well. The frame looks good. Basically, the top half of the door is really good. It's just down here, and I realized last night I'm just completely impatient, and you know, this is going to be a test of my patience. This has happened simply because I didn't wait long enough between putting the 2 heavy coats on. So I've got to be more patient. So I actually need to get a digital timer, put it, set a time, wait for that to go off, and then redo the coats. The other thing is to go to a spot on the car where it's going to get covered up, it's not going to be seen, and use your finger. I've watched Brian from Paint Society, great videos, and he said if you lift up a bit of masking tape and feel how tacky that is, that's how your clear coat should feel when you're ready to apply your next coat. Mine was not overly tacky, let's just say that. So I need to let this dry for another day, get the panels washed, get them in here, give them a final clear coat, and then we're reassembling, baby. Yes. I don't know why I found this so satisfying. I've seen lots of videos and here I am doing my own. And it just felt so good that I've put time and effort into trying to learn how to do something. And yeah, I got a long way to go. I'm the first to admit that. But this just felt good. Because it just means I really am getting close to putting all of this back together. The car is going to be one colour. All the panels are going to be back together. It's just such a good feeling. So I'm laying down base coat to repair the spots that have been exposed, now knowing that I'm from the initial starting of painting, I never had enough base coat down on the items, on the panels. Team, it is warm. That is 3 coats I've just put on the panels. 28.2 degrees, 60% humidity is not the ideal temperature to be painting or clear coating in. But I just am running out of time, so it certainly is drying off a bit quicker, I know that. I don't see any runs, so that's good. I'm just not sure that I'm getting enough clear on. If there are any painters or people who do this and know what they're doing, please leave a comment and let me know. How do you know if you have enough clear coat on? I've got the gun settings to where I believe they're supposed to be from what I've watched, from what I've learnt. So I've got the fluid control out 2 turns. I have the fan knob a quarter in, or out, whatever it is. All the way in, yeah. Sorry. All the way out. And then a quarter in, or half of that, so an eighth. And I'm about 25, 28-ish PSI. I've got to keep adjusting it because the compressor kicks in, cuts out, and it changes. And I've got the air coming through the mask, so that makes a difference. I don't see any runs, so just got to leave it now. And hopefully this is it. But how do I know I've got enough clear coat on there? Because it's going to have to be obviously buffed and all that kind of stuff. 1500, 2000, 3000, and then compound. I got to look all that up. So how do I know I've got enough on there? Please comment. Please let me know. Team, it is a couple of days since the clear coat was put down on the car and on the panels. So I'm going to quickly show you what I did to the bonnet, just so I can explain what we're going to do next. So I previously showed you that it all went down reasonably well, got a fair amount of orange peel, which we've got to sand out. So, but you should see these drops. Now, they are not runs. I purposely put those there. There is a couple here. Those were originally dips, little dips in the clear coat that had always been there. So I then had a tiny bit of clear coat left. I used a tiny paintbrush and I literally dropped clear coat in to fill the spot, which means now I'm just going to block sand those out. Then it is then a flat surface. Did I get every single spot? No, I didn't. But the ones that I could see were very obvious. I shoved in just so I can make it just a little bit better. Anyway, it's going to take probably a fair amount of the day to go over these. I've got to jump online quickly and I'm really worried I don't have enough clear coat on here. Let me show you something. From this angle, on the left-hand side, actually, which is the, driver's side, right-hand side, on the front of the bonnet here, that looks really nice and thick. It just looks that way. And yet when I move across and look to this side, for instance, it just does not look as thick. So I am a little concerned. I know I've got to use something like 1500, 2000 and maybe 3000, but I don't even know because I've never done it before, so I don't know how much I've got to sand. Hopefully it's very, very minimal just to smooth it out. There is the tiniest amount of orange peel, but on the original panels. So I don't have to get it like glass, but you know, it's a lot less than what the panels currently are. There's some spots on here which are exactly like the original panels, but most of the spots are not. So let's just get on with that. I started off using this 1200 half cut Arulo sander round disc. Put it on my little block, and I was just like, it's too difficult. It needs to be the rectangle paper. So I've whipped down to good old Bunnings and grabbed 3 packs of this 1200, 2000 and 3000 grit set, which is for automotive. And I've cut them down to the usual little size here, and I put on the block. And I've now gone through and gone over all the extra little bumps that I created. So I've gone through. It didn't take that long at all. I pressed very, very lightly to ensure that I'm not taking off any more than I have to. Now the plan is to use these 1200 round discs. They actually feel slightly finer than the ones I've just bought. These are from that little Chinese website that I get everything from. So I'm going to very lightly go over the bonnet and the other 2 panels with these, and then work up to a 2000 and then a 3000, and I mean very, very lightly because I just want to remove some of the orange peel basically. And then I have bought some Maguire's polish. Now I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to use a compound first and then the polish, but like I said, I'm just very, very scared about that I don't have enough clear coat on here. I don't know why I think that. I just look at it and go, it just doesn't look like there's enough on there. I hadn't put enough base coat on there. I've already learnt that, so I'm learning curves, people, learning curves. So I'm very likely going to do that. Might just do the bonnet first and see how that turns out, and then I know where I'm at. Let's go. Okie dokie. I have now gone over it with the 1200, 2000 and the 3000 grit. Let's have a look. This is the end result. I've dried it off with the microfiber towel and just put the heat gun over it just slightly to get it dry, because it is much cooler outside. In fact, it's even raining outside. There are a couple of spots that are just like flat as, and others that aren't. Am I going to do any more? No, because I'm still worried about not having enough clear coat on there, because I still don't know what I'm doing. There's a couple of spots just like that one which I was sanding before, which need to go down just the tiniest bit more. Another one here, for instance, you can see. So I'm now going to use some 3000 paper grit to just finally go over those, try and flatten them out, and then I'm going to get the polish and do a spot and see where we're at. I am pretty sure it should obviously look exactly the same all over, but like I said, I am a newbie at this, and I'm kind of knowing in my head that it should be like that really shiny, well, non-shiny spot, but no orange peel. But the original panels have the tiniest amount in there, so to make these look like glass and then the original panels, the rest of the car not, I was obviously going to mismatch it, and the idea is to get it to match even the finish. So that said, let's give it a bit of a polish. I'm going to fix those spots, give it a bit of a polish in a spot, and see how it comes up. Grit, other than sandpaper grit, any other grit is the enemy. Have a look at this. You can see a line there. That is a scratch. I now have to see if I can sand that out very, very carefully before I give it a polish. So I'm just going to do it. I went over it with 2000 and 3000 and it's still there. It's a little less defined. So I'm just going to give an area of polish and see what happens, maybe including part of the scratch. Trial and error. Okay, I'm going to give this a go. I've got the polisher out. It is one that you can change the speed on. I did buy some Maguire's polish gloss enhancer. I probably should be using the compound, but like I said, I'm really worried about the lack of coating on this. So I'm just going to give this a go, and if it doesn't, then we'll reevaluate. So is just see what happens.
Now, nothing was coming out of the bottle. It's brand new. Because there's a seal on the top.
Sealed.
Anyway, sorted that out. Again, seen videos, and this is just so satisfying to see something that's so dull and lifeless in its look. And then to bring it up and make it shine. But again, well, you look at this on video, and even I look back at it, and it looks awesome. It's nowhere near the finish as to what we're after. Now, I got this off eBay, this variable speed polisher, but it's not slow enough. The slow end is not slow, and I've got it on the lowest speed setting. So hence I'm keep pulling and releasing the trigger so that I'm creating my own speed. Because I know this shouldn't be that fast. Well, I don't think it should be that fast. But again, this is a finishing polish that I'm putting on here, which is not the way to start, people. You need a compound to cut it first.
It said don't let it dry before wiping it off, so just wipe it off. So there's spits everywhere, of course. So that is a very dull gloss. It probably, and you can still see the orange peel. So I'm going to do it a fraction more. I've got 5 different coloured pads. These are from AliExpress, of course. I have looked online, video-wise, what the difference means. So this is the one you're supposed to start with. Maybe I do need to just rush down and go and get the cutting compound and give it a go. I'm just going to give it another whirl on this to see how much. Well, I don't even know how much you're supposed to buff it. I'm sure you're not supposed to spend too long in one spot, that's for sure. So, but obviously it's made a difference, but not enough of a difference. So just give it another go, and then we might go and get some cutting compound. So I'm just going to point out it's definitely shinier and looks okay, but come in here and you'll see the underneath of the orange peel is definitely glossier. So the top part still needs to be cut back some more. Whether the sanding wasn't enough or it just actually needs an actual cutting compound, and then that because it is a polishing. Maybe I just need to do that. So I'm really trying to watch the budget. So anyway, might just get a cutting compound and then give that a go, and then try to polish it. We've been down to Repco and grabbed this. I did go down to get the Maguire's compound. Said they had it in stock, and they didn't. This is an Australian made and owned company, so we're going to give it a Bowden's own a try. I've read the instructions, seem pretty straightforward. Going to do this front corner of the bonnet, try it out, and also just to give us more room, because I don't intend to do any more painting or painting. The paint booth wall is now up above us so that we can easily unclip it and bring it back down when we need it next. So let's give this a go. I've just done a quarter with that compound. I've changed the pad to a finishing pad, which is much softer. We're now going to use the polish and just see how this comes up. Let's do it. Done. I think I need maybe have someone come out at some point, not on this car, actually have a detail done on a car, and then learn from that professional detailer so they can get the inside and the outside done, so I can see what's actually used, what products they use, what pads they use, what speed the polisher should be at. There are so many variables, like painting. to do this. I'm going to give it another go over. It's definitely come up better than what it was, but it's still a dull gloss. So is that down to the sanding that I did previously is not made it flat enough? I don't know. If you do know, leave a comment. Okay, I've done this quarter here. It looks better again because it's been redone. This edge right here is duller because I was doing it last and the polishing cream had basically just about run out. So I can tell that it makes a difference. Again, how many times do you go over this? You go over it and over and over till you get the result you want, or what? I mean, I don't know. Leave a comment. But now I'm going to chuck the yellow compound pad and compound the rest of it, get it polished, and then get on with sanding the other two panels, getting them done before we then bring in the car, sort the door out. Not my birthday. Okay, got a 1200. This is the side skirt that had the blend on this end, which then goes across. So where it becomes really rough, I've got to sand the two together using the 1200, 2000 and 3000 to blend it across and then give it a light polish just to match the two sides. That is the side skirt done. It's come up pretty good, pretty happy with it. Now, time to get on and get the door done. Okay, actually before I do the door, I just want to do this A-pillar. You can very, very clearly see that's where the tape was and I blended it off. So we're going to do exactly as we did the side skirt and just blend the two bits of clear coat into each other. Before we do that though, I need to tape along this edge so that I don't go sanding and scratching the chrome. I'm going with 1200 and I'm going to do it by hand. Very, very lightly. Because that is already taking that off. You can see that it's starting to blend in, and this is the side that I'm using the block, which is going to give me a much smoother edge over compared to this edge where I did it by hand. It's just about gone. Like when you put the water on it, you can hardly see it. It makes it harder. Okay, it's done. Come across and have a look. You certainly can't feel it. You can just kind of see the two, but it's compounded and polished. It should hopefully disappear. Let's find out. How dumb am I? I've just realised I just did it with 1200 and I didn't do the 2000 and the 3000 grid. So I will go ahead now and do the 2000 grid and the 3000 grid. It's already becoming very hard to see. So with a pencil or a pen, I can see where it is just, and I'm going to put a little mark just here so I know that it's in line with basically that section there. I can't get the paper out the bucket. Thank you. 3000 grit. In prep for this beautiful car to be put together, the bonnet hinges need another coat of gloss black. So, going to quickly do that now, hang it outside the dry, and get the door finished. Changed over to the 1000. I did have 1000, but it's not like I said, it wasn't wet and dry. And I thought, well, why can't I just wet it? And that's what I have been doing, and I didn't hit record. No! So, it has actually made it quicker and a lot better. I can now see the feathering from one end to the other. A couple of spots a little more prominent, but they're right near this edge here, and I do not want to touch the edge. So, I'm now going to move down to this spot here, because it's basically this bottom half of the door that's just not done yet, just to get this spot out. Then I'm going to swap to the 1200, 2000, 3000 all over, and then get it polished. This is why you have to stay away from the edge. Look at that. That is the gold showing through from the original colour. Not enough base coat, and obviously not enough lacquer. So I need to get the door done and put some base coat on it, like the world's tiniest bit of base coat, and a bit of clear coat, I guess. I'm certainly not going to sand back the door and do it all again. Disappointing, people, but we've got to move forward. I go back to work next week, and I want this car together. Just disappointing. I keep saying stay away from the edge, and then what did I do? This is an ID10T error. If you know what that is, leave a comment, and so I know that you know what that means. I'm sure this is not how the professionals would probably do it. Maybe they'd leave the plastic all over it until they finish, so that this doesn't happen. But quite frankly, I don't care. It's just going to wipe off. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then get this door polished and see what kind of a result we get, and then work out what to do with my little two indiscretion lines down the bottom. Is going to be a wrap for this episode. Kind of wanted to put everything together in one episode, put it all together, but it's just going to be miles too long. So everything is ready. Episode 14 will be the last episode. It'll be the final. It'll be the finale. So, thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share the videos with people who you know like watching this kind of content. And then, let's see this thing come together after all this time, what I've learnt, how much it costs, and what happens with it. See you then.